everyone, welcome to today's video. Today you can see I am reviewing the film Spiral. I know I haven't posted a lot of content lately. If you follow me on social media, you know exactly why that has happened. But I have been stockpiling reviews, rankings. There's another thing that I'm working on, and I am actually recording something else, collab this weekend. So I do have in the next week lots of videos coming up, so don't get too mad at me that I haven't posted anything lately, but I know y'all are cool, y'all are cool, y'all are cool. So if you are new to this channel, welcome, thank you for stopping by. I'm gonna get right into my thoughts on Spiral. Spiral, also known as Spiral from the Book of Saw, is a 2021 American horror film directed by Darren Lynn Bousman and written by Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger. It's the 9th installment in the Saw film series and follows police efforts to stop a Jigsaw copycat killer. I had no optimism going into this film whatsoever. The bar was set very low. I've seen all the Saw films. I used to love the first 3 until I recently tried to rewatch them for my 10th viewing, only to realize my opinions had drastically changed. The last few Saw films had me laughing like crazy. They weren't intentionally funny, they were just so stupid all I could do was laugh. Turns out they're all like that, and I'm amazed it took me this long to realize that. So given Spiral is directed by the same man behind Saw 2, Saw 3, and Saw 4, how is it going to do? And honestly, I'd say in some ways it's better than the previous Saw films, and in other ways it's just as bad, if not worse. So I'd say this one is straight down the middle, folks, half and half like many Jigsaw victims. When the first film was released, many said it was inspired by Seven and trying to take inspiration from Seven, but this film frankly has far more in common with Seven than it does the Saw franchise. The film actually brings a lot more intelligence than previous Saw films. While like past films, the film has a non-linear plot, it actually is far more coherent than the past films, and it's not constantly flashing scenes and reactions and memories of things that happened 5 minutes ago at us. It does that a couple of times, but nowhere near as severe. The cinematography is actually very different. It uses warmer tones where past films were very cold. It's very relaxing visually, clear and easy to take in, and it does sometimes use the classic speed up moments of footage to make things look psychotic. It has seriously toned it down though, which I think is good because that was dangerous for a lot of viewers. It's a very straightforward plot. There's a killer on the loose targeting crooked cops. I really like this. While the killer does not sound at all menacing, in fact, unlike the bone-chilling voice of Tobin Bell, this killer's voice is more tinkly and quite comical, so it is hard to take seriously, but so much about the killer makes sense. Throughout the Saw films, John Kramer saw himself as a paragon of good, punishing the bad and helping people find redemption and appreciate their lives. He never did that, and he never successfully redeemed a single person. Like, 2 people survived his traps, and they did not become upstanding members of society. He also killed and tortured a lot of innocent people and was willing to kill many bystanders and even children. Dude gave no fucks and just acted self-righteous. It wasn't until film 3 or 4 when the pig mask was given context, and it was very loose context. He favored a pig mask because his unborn son was to be born in the year of the pig, and he wore a random pig mask when he went after his first victim, blah 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 blah. It was all a stretch since John's code never actually synced up with anything he did or ever worked. It felt pointless to keep using that line. May as well just make him your basic intellectual serial killer. This killer, however, uses the pig mascot as well, but it works because they're using it to mock the police, and another term for police is pigs. They have a code too, and unlike Kramer, stick to it. They solely want to clean up the police force, and their targets are only bad cops. They will not go after innocent people. The killer does kill one bystander, but unclear on how innocent he was. The killer was someone personally affected by a crooked cop, and it has shaped their life. It's clean, it's concise, it makes sense, and I appreciate it. That being said, the grand reveal of who the killer is was entirely unexceptional. There really isn't a big plot twist or big game over moment, so don't expect one. The series has never been able to top that amazing reveal of who the killer was and where the killer was in the first film. It hasn't been done. With this film, it is very obvious who the killer is the moment we meet them. The clues are thrown at us in almost every scene, either in actions or dialogue, to the point when they flash back to all the little clues as to who the killer was. You don't need the flashbacks because they were as obvious as a neon red spiral painted on a brick wall in the middle of town. That happened, by the way. As soon as the killer was revealed, I was just thinking, well, duh. And while I did get my theory wrong on the specifics of their motivation, I did ultimately theorize they had lost a loved one to a crooked cop, and I was right, so yeah, there was no surprise in this film. It's shocking just how many crooked cops there are in this film. Like, I think Chris Rock's character was the only decent one, maybe the cops who worked reception as well, but that is literally it. Oh, and his partner, kind of. Everyone else is either murdering people, lying on the stand, covering shit up, just any number of illegal deeds, and even with all the issues going on right now with police officers, I just find it hard to believe an entire police department could be that blatantly crooked and breaking the law, and Internal Affairs hasn't clocked them once. That I find unbelievable. Chris Rock, while I was unsure about him, actually is great in this film. Yes, his character has a fair bit of comedic dialogue, but it actually works and he delivers it way differently than he does in his comedies or stand-ups. His character is someone who is 95% by the book, he likes the rule of law and justice, and he hates crooked cops and doesn't trust anyone. He's been good and loyal, and it's gotten him fucked over on all sides, so he is a huge pessimist who doesn't trust anyone. So his humor is very matter-of-fact and observational. It's really just the humor of a person who doesn't give a fuck anymore, and for his character it actually works. It's not this weird misplaced comedy in a horror film, it's funny lines that reflect the character and they don't take over too much, because outside of those moments, Rock plays the anger and the intelligence of the character really well, so I genuinely liked his character. Minus that whole deep in thought, often space stare he kept doing, which looks so weird it was unintentionally funny, like he was squinting, trying to read a faraway sign. So these are mostly the ways the film is better than the past Saw films: likable leads, strong motives from the killer, a very intelligent game of cat and mouse that is well paced with a very clear and concise timeline, and we actually see procedure in full swing. In all the past films, cops did whatever the hell they wanted, handled evidence without gloves, trampled all over scenes, didn't have warrants, used guns that I don't think police officers use, cases bounced around cops like a game of hot potato, evidence was a fucking mess, and also the cops were either dumb or an asshole or both. In this, even the crooked cops do know how to follow procedure most of the time. Someone leads the case, they follow the leader, they're not antagonistic to the press, they wear gloves before handling evidence, small things that are so rare that I appreciate them so much. But where this film fails is in everything that is meant to make it a horror film. While I love we are focusing on bad people, the film actually mostly follows Rock's character, and so the traps or tests or kills or whatever you want to call them happen very quickly. They're over just as quickly as they began, so we're never in a position to feel any tension or suspense or any type of intensity. All those elements are rushed because the characters don't matter, and if they don't matter, then why should we care? Now, yes, the traps are brutal and just what you'd expect from a Saw film, and yes, you can actually escape these, but as per tradition, come with a high price. But like I said, this film moves very fast, which is both good and bad. It's nice to not have people sitting around sharing their life story, but when it's kill time, it's too fast to really take in, and it's not memorable. Even without the kills, there's nothing intense or shocking or suspenseful about anything in this film. Now, I know there have been so many films in this series, each one upping the blood and gore and torture to insane levels that I'm sure people are ready to say we're just desensitized, but I'm going to say that's a misconception. That's not the problem. The problem is none of it is done well, and there's no emotional weight to these characters. We just aren't given a reason to care. I mean, with Kramer's traps, you want the people to survive most of the time because most of them just didn't deserve it. But with most of these guys in this film, yeah, they kind of do, so you don't care if they get out of the trap. The traps themselves are very advanced and yet have me asking the same question with all the others. Who the fuck can afford this? Seriously, all the TVs, most of which, like the original films, are TVs from the 80s and 90s, which I have no idea how they were able to get, or able to hotwire and able to show videos in the middle of the freaking subway or anywhere else for that matter. It never made sense in the original films, and it doesn't make sense in this. Bigger, elaborate traps require money and time and effort and skill, and if you're one person who has a very small salary, how the fuck do you fund this homicide project? It never made sense how John Kramer was able to afford all the pieces for all his traps and assemble them all over town. And my god, the number number of old school cassettes and tape recorders being used, how has in the entire franchise not a single cop thought to go to any electronic store, even online, and see who the hell has been buying massive quantities of cassette tapes and tape recorders? People hardly ever use that anymore. Even during the other Saw films, those weren't that common. So someone buying them all up like no tomorrow would stand out like a sore thumb. But no, even in this film, no one checks that avenue and it's the easiest one. But to be fair, that only happened like once or twice in this film. Mostly it was just like the using really old TVs that bugged me. But mostly in this one, everything was delivered via like USB. We didn't really have too much of the cassette and tape thing. That only happened, yeah, I think once or twice. But mostly it was by USB, so that's perfectly fine. But surely there's a digital footprint to follow there somewhere. In this film, it makes way more sense how the killer is able to dig up dirt on everybody. Again, it never made sense in the past films. The level of information obtained and sourced and records found, most of which are gathered in a day, even with a cop working for you, it's just not possible. But in this, it's way more possible. Even the media could get this evidence, which again is why I ask how IA never came to raid this precinct. I think Samuel L. Jackson is great in his small but pointed role in this film, though again, we don't care much about what happens to him. He's not around much, and while I like his and Chris Rock's dynamic, the fact they aren't close and we never see them as close again means it's hard to care what happens to Jackson. I love Marisol Nichols. I was surprised she was in this, but happy because I've loved her ever since she was in Charmed. But I really dug her character in this. She was fun to watch too. All the performances were good, though Max Minghella was a tad underwhelming and flat, especially when he really in certain scenes needed to give us intensity. By the time we reach the end of the film, while everything has been intelligent for the most part, it has been pretty dull, like flat soda. It's got some taste, but the fizz is gone. By the time the credits start rolling, my cinema was laughing their butts off. I mean, they were laughing for most of the film. I saw more people laughing, and I didn't see anybody jumping or getting scared once. All I heard as I left was everyone laughing about everything that happened. And if people are laughing during and after a horror film, someone done fucked up. I think this was all just evidence that this film series has run its course. During one scene, Rock's character says Kramer never targeted cops, so I guess the director forgot the entire plot to the very film he directed, because the entire second film was about targeting a bad cop. The killer talks about how Kramer used the spiral as his symbol because it represents their ability to grow and evolve and become better. No, he fucking didn't. That was just a cute swirl painted on a creepy fucking doll. It has no great meaning. Though in terms of symbology, spirals do mean growth and evolution, but they also represent the womb, fertility, and life force energies, so nice job, guys. During one scene, a SWAT team shoots a guy who is very clearly suspended in midair attached to cables with giant harnesses on him, but yeah, he totally doesn't look like a victim at all. Let's shoot him all at the same time. Oh wait, there's this random person over there in the elevator who's very obviously getting away while we can all very clearly see their face. Let's just stand here and do nothing while Chris Rock dramatically yells, "No!" instead of actually doing anything. So yeah, if I was to pick one word to describe this film, it would be underwhelming. The script is smart and brings in a series of events more sane than anything in past films, and I do like our lead and following his story, so I would call it a really good procedural drama, but a bad horror film. Like I said before, no tension, no suspense, no build-up, nothing creepy, disturbing, or scary. It didn't make me feel a damn thing, and I don't think you need giant amounts of blood and gore to be effective. You can do something minimally and still be effective. I have seen it done plenty of times, and I feel the last few films are evidence that more blood does not mean a better horror film. That's not how it works. It's just you need more in your story to make it effective, something for the audience to invest in. I mean, if you're not good with horror films or you are easily squeamish, then yeah, this will definitely work for you in the sense that you'll probably be horrified or grossed out. But if you're a platinum standard horror fan, like I am, and you actually care about your stories and actually want violence to have a purpose and impact, then I don't think you'll be happy with this one. But ultimately, check it out for yourself and see what you think. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Spiral. It's an okay film. It's underwhelming, but I would just classify it as okay. I didn't hate it, but it's not memorable. There's nothing about it that makes me go, wow, that was unique. Wow, that was intense. I'm just like, yeah, it's a film and I watched it, it happened, so what? That's really all it is. But that's my take on this. And so I already know that there are some early reviews I've seen and some people love it, but I think if you are not someone who is a hardcore fan of this series, I don't think that you're gonna like this film. If you don't, you know, even if you just are okay with the series, you may not like this film. Or maybe you'll be the opposite. You'll hate all the other films and you're actually kind of like this one. I can't predict how people are gonna think. We all think things differently. To people who have, it was said before the film was released that this film had no connection to any of the past films. Well, aside from the person copying Jigsaw, and Jigsaw getting a mention quite a bit, there is, and the spiral thing kind of loosely, the method of the kills is indicative of what we've seen in the Saw franchise, and there is a moment that is literally paying homage to the very first film, because as soon as I saw that, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, really? Really, guys? Come on. Like, but yeah, so if you haven't seen the first film, that little moment isn't going to make any sense to you. But if you have seen the first film, then you're going to look at that and go, haha, I see what you did there. But yeah, outside of that, no, I can't really, yeah, there's not much else. But still, it's a film that works on its own. You don't have to see any of the Saw films for this film to make sense. That one little moment, yeah, that kind of works on... Actually, that moment doesn't make sense at all. No, now that I'm thinking about it, it's only there to pay homage to the first film. But outside of that, there's actually no fucking point for it to be there. Yeah, no, that was a fan service scene. That did nothing for the story. I was gonna say, like, you know, if you haven't watched the other films, then you'll watch and you'll be fine. But I'm just like, no, if you haven't seen any of those films, then you'd be watching that and go, well, what was the fucking point of doing that at all? If you see how it plays out, then you know what I mean. But yeah, no, that was there for the fans. Yeah, that was there for the fans. That's all it's there for. But yeah, those are my thoughts. That is it. If you have seen Spiral, then please comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the film. Do you think it is better than the Saw films? Do you think it's okay, just as good, terrible? I don't know. That's why I'm asking for your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And also let me know if you're a fan of the Saw films. Like I said, I was a fan of the first 3. The first time I watched the third film, I was watching it on a preview cassette tape, meaning my brother used to get these at the video store he worked at. I know video stores, they're so old. Nobody even knows what they are anymore. But video stores would get preview tapes, which means that they would get to watch it before things actually went out on video or DVD. And the store would decide if they actually want to have that in their catalogue of films. And so my brother would bring them home and he would let me see them, and he brought me home a copy of Saw 3, and within the first few minutes I had to pause the film and run to the bathroom because I nearly threw up. So that was really good. But yeah, looking back at those films, the gore no longer impacts me because I know what's coming, but now I can look beyond the gore and look at the actual intricacies of the plot. And I realized the plots are a fucking mess in every single film, and the timelines don't work at all. They try to make them work, but they actually don't. So yeah, I used to be a Saw fan, at least the first 3, not any of the others, and now... yeah, I'm not anymore. Anyway, you don't need to... anyway, doesn't really matter. Anyway, if you do end up seeing this film, I genuinely hope you have a good time and you enjoy it. Nobody wants to go into a film and end up hating it. No, that's not the goal. So definitely give this film a shot, and fingers crossed that you like it. But that is it for this video. Once again, thank you to my awesome patrons for continuing to support me and all my crazy shenanigans. I hope everybody is doing well. Stay safe, stay happy, watch lots of movies, and I hope to see you in my next video. So until then, bye!